What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate today for July the 19th of 2019. Of course, if you are brand new to the show, welcome in, and if you do happen to be new, this is a daily gaming news podcast where I bring you the hottest gaming news from around the industry 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, around the morning hours of the day. And of course, it is then put up after it's streamed live on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia, as well as podcast services around the world if you do want the show in an alternative format as compared to the live version found on twitch.tv/SamuelAdams. Did you get all of those hyperlinks? Because I'm not giving you any kind of bitlies. What a way to start off the show. Today, we have some leaked gameplay of Marvel's big Avengers game coming from Crystal Dynamics. It looks interesting, to say the least, but now we have an idea of what to expect. Now, I will say, if you are getting into this video at the very beginning, I am not going to be showing the gameplay. I repeat, I am not going to be showing the gameplay. So you better exit out of this video, you better close this podcast out, you better turn off the live stream, whatever you have to do. The gameplay is not going to be here because guess what? I don't want to get my channel taken down. So we are not going to be showing it here, but I will give you a rundown of the situation. And then we know when we will actually get some gameplay footage that's released, on schedule, according to the guys at Crystal Dynamics. I'll let you know when you can watch legal gameplay, unless you're a heathen and you want to watch the leaked stuff online. Speaking of superheroes, Marvel's Spider-Man is now the best-selling superhero game ever, officially. Congratulations to the guys over at Insomniac. Overwatch has a brand new meta coming down the pipe, and it looks like some big changes are coming to the game that a ton of people are excited about, and that even includes me, somebody who hasn't played Overwatch on a regular basis in about 2 years. id Software studio director is officially stepping down after QuakeCon 2019. We now know how big the moon is going to be in Destiny 2, and it's grown since Destiny 1. I don't get it either. Google's $10 Stadia Pro plan includes one free game per month, and finally, if you want one free game per day, specifically today, I've got one to hook you up with, at least for a couple of days if you do want to try out the original Borderlands. I'll tell you where and when and how to get your hands on that game for free this weekend. But that's pretty much the lineup for today's show. Again, if you are brand new, I do hope you enjoy what I bring to the table. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's top stories. First off, Thor is looking mighty as ever in this Marvel's Avengers gameplay leak from SDCC 2019. Marvel's Avengers gameplay leaked out of San Diego Comic-Con yesterday after publisher Square Enix and developer Eidos Montreal, Shadow of the Tomb Raider of fame, held an official panel to show off more from its upcoming action game inspired by the classic Marvel Comics. That gameplay, which was supposed to be officially revealed in the week following Gamescom 2019 next month, was supposed to be kept behind closed doors, shown only to those in attendance at the panel itself. But inevitably, someone had already posted a snippet of the footage on YouTube, which you can check out, and it's about 45 seconds, but wait, it gets better. The leaked Marvel's Avengers gameplay shows off Thor, God of Thunder, and one of several playable characters in the game's roster of Earth's mightiest heroes, going to town on a couple of armed guards, demonstrating a variety of light and heavy attacks via his trusty hammer, Mjolnir. It's only 40 seconds long, but guess what? An even updated, longer reel of leaked footage has surfaced online, showing more of Thor, but also Iron Man and Hulk doing their thing on the Golden Gate Bridge. It looks like a more official gameplay trailer of the gameplay trailer that we saw at E3. For the podcast listeners, I'm using air quotes because we didn't actually see gameplay officially at E3. But the San Diego Comic-Con 2019 schedule, meanwhile, is steaming along at full pace with loads of big news about tons of various comic information. But again, we are not going to be checking out that gameplay because obviously they don't want you seeing it. But I will say I have watched it, and I have slightly more faith in the Marvel's Avengers game now than I did before. Looking at the gameplay, it looks like a pretty traditional looking action game. It's going to be a fun blend of different kinds of experiences. Don't think necessarily something like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, but think more so almost like a God of War kind of combat to it. If you're looking at the Thor combat specifically, you definitely get that kind of vibe. Now, the Iron Man in-flight combat is totally different. There's a different kind of take on that altogether, but it is something that I think is going to work out pretty well once everything gets polished up. Now, as we said, Crystal Dynamics will release even more Avengers footage a week after Gamescom, which is coming towards the end of August. And so that's pretty much the entire story with that one. You can kind of look forward to post-Gamescom getting a full breakdown, a full reveal of exactly what you could be getting from gameplay. But at the end of the day, the leak is showing off a lot of quality content. I think that a lot of people have been worried about Marvel's Avengers coming from the team behind the scenes, but at the same time, I think this kind of calms those fears a bit. It looks like a pretty good Marvel's Avengers game. Now, at the same time, you definitely don't have Chris Evans, you definitely don't have Robert Downey Jr. and all the other actors that make up the Avengers, so it is going to be a bit jarring to see these new character models to begin with. But again, with a star-studded cast of characters that are very popular within the video game industry, it's probably going to be a pretty good game. But again, if you do want to pick up the game itself, it's coming out in 2020 if you do want to get in on some of that crime-fighting superhero goodness. But until next time, you can always find, or at least until that time, you can always find all of the leaked gameplay on YouTube and, of course, taken down, put up on various services across the internet, because when something leaks, it's up there forever, whether you take it down or not. You know what I mean? You probably know what I mean. However, speaking of superheroes, Marvel's Spider-Man is now the best-selling superhero game ever. In my youth, I remember superhero games being a bit of a gamble. You could end up with a Superman game where he dies to gunshots, or a terrible side-scroller brawler based on Batman Forever, or maybe a surprisingly decent Capcom-developed X-Men game. Nowadays, the bar has been raised a bit thanks to games like Rocksteady's Arkham series, which were by far the most successful superhero games in terms of sales, at least until now. Just ahead of SDCC, superhero panels today, NPD analyst. There were a lot of abbreviations there. I'm going to start that sentence over. Just ahead of SDCC, superhero panels today, NPD analyst Matt Piscatella shared data of the best-selling superhero games in the US. While we have long known that Marvel's Spider-Man, the PS4 exclusive collaboration between Marvel Games and Sony and developed by Insomniac, is one of the fastest-selling superhero titles ever, it is also now the best-selling one. Peter Parker has officially leapfrogged over his nearest competitor, Batman's Arkham City. Arkham City, the follow-up to the critically successful Arkham Asylum, was released in 2011 on PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. The sequel took Batman into an open world and let Batman fly around a condemned prisoner island, beating up thugs and solving mysteries. Sony has been particularly proud of Spider-Man's critical and sales performance in the year since its release on PS4, and Sony has even used Spider-Man as their specific example of how game performance will improve on the next PlayStation console. And that, my friends, is a pretty impressive figure. You beat out Arkham City. That's really cool. We are in a golden era of superhero-themed entertainment content, whether it be films, comics, games, whatever it could be. Superheroes are doing fantastic in 2019, and of course they have been for the better part of the past 10 years or so. But specifically, games are starting to catch up. Of course, whenever Iron Man was released, that essentially marked the beginning of this giant generation of quality Marvel and even, I would say, quality DC movies and various entertainment forms. But now we're finally hitting our stride with these Arkham games that have come out, with Spider-Man, with the Marvel's Avengers game that we just talked about. You're getting a lot of projects that are AAA big name titles that are definitely going to be making some waves in the industry. And I think that it's not out of the realm of possibility that if the cards are played correctly, you could see the Avengers game actually knock Spider-Man out of the loop, just because of the amount of weight that the name Avengers carries. Of course, Spider-Man also very popular, but Avengers is like an search engine optimization gold mine in 2019. People love the Avengers. They split the last movie into 2 different films. They haven't done that since Harry Potter, and we all know how it's incredibly popular. But of course, I digress. If you are curious as to how Spider-Man was selling, it's doing very well. In fact, so well, Arkham City has even been dethroned. But maybe you're not into the Spider-Man games. Maybe you're not into these superhero games. Maybe you like Overwatch. Some big changes are coming to the game that could be a positive for you. Overwatch Test lets you pick and queue for a specific hero class. Finally. Players have been asking for it for years, and finally it has arrived. Blizzard is introducing Roll Cue to Overwatch. From today on, players in the PTR will be able to beta test a feature that allows them to choose the role they want to play, tank, support, or damage, before a match begins. Usually, this decision-making happens in a fairly fraught 40 seconds before a match starts, as everyone selects their heroes and responds to other players' role choices, so it's not uncommon to feel bummed out as a team comes together. But now, if you are in competitive or quick play, you can choose your role before the game starts, and the system will match 2 tanks, 2 supports, and 2 damage heroes to create a team. Each of these roles has its own queue, and you will be able to see estimates for the wait times for each. This will generally be down to the number of players queuing for a particular role. So in other words, if you have a ton of people wanting to play damage, then that's going to be a shorter queue time. If you have nobody wanting to play support, that's pretty much going to be a longer queue time, as to be expected. There may also be rewards on offer to help balance out the distribution of players in addition to that. Blizzard has also made a couple of other tweaks to ensure matches remain as fair as possible. Players will earn a separate skill rating for each role in competitive play and be assigned a tier per role based on that rating: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, or grandmaster. This will help the matchmaking system create teams on an evenly skilled basis. Roll Cue will affect hero balance, especially for heroes such as Bridget, who is the most potent as a third healer or tank. As such, Blizzard is updating Bridget's kit to provide more healing overall while decreasing her survivability to help solidify her as a support hero. The feature is currently available on the public test region on PC and will be coming to live servers starting with a Roll Cue beta season in patch 1.39. It will be fully available for quick and competitive play from September 1st for the start of competitive season 18 in the world of Overwatch. A very cool addition to the game. Of course, for those that don't know, Overwatch might have died out and might not be in the spotlight very much, but man, the game is still incredibly popular, especially in the competitive scene. And so to have these changes coming that are really just truly quality of life improvements that make the game better at its core foundational level, that's fantastic to see. Of course, this kind of matchmaking really does make a difference between a frustrating matchmaking experience and one that is tailored around what you want to do within the game. For instance, as you see here in the screenshot, you can earn a loot box if you play support because maybe they need support that day. It's that kind of stuff that really is incentivizing people to play by the rules and to use this system to their advantage, whether it be to get a free loot box by playing support for a couple of rounds or by just sticking to your guns and playing where you are strongest at. That sounds fantastic to me, and I think it's a fantastic addition to the game. And of course, something players have been asking for a while as well. But if you do want to dive into Overwatch, again, there are free there are free weekends and events that go on from time to time. But the game itself is out right now on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And it's been out for, I believe, the better part of about 3 years now. Insane that we're already on competitive season 18, and also that the Overwatch League is continuing to dominate the world of esports. It's crazy how popular the esports scene is for Overwatch. But let's talk about id Software, because the studio director Tim Willits is going to depart the company after QuakeCon 2019. Studio director, level designer, and former co-owner id Software, Tim Willits, has announced he will be leaving the company after 24 years. Willits announced today he will leave id Software after QuakeCon 2019 concludes. Quote, "All of the games currently in development are in very good hands. My departure will not affect any planned releases," stated on Twitter. Id Software is packed full of amazing talent that will continue to develop long into the future some of the best shooters in the world. Willits said he will announce his future plans after the event, such as where he's going and what new exciting things he will be doing. id Software was founded in 1991 by John Carmack, John Romero, Tom Hall, and Adrian Carmack. Willits has been with the company since 1995, so without a doubt a very senior member of the staff. But of course, Tim Willits, an iconic member of the id Software team, and best of luck to him wherever fate does end up taking him. Of course, you can always follow him on Twitter and at Tim Willits and keep up to date with where he is going, but I certainly do believe some big things are in the future. When it comes to what id Software has worked on, the amount of quality time this individual has spent with games, as his bio says, like Doom, Quake Champions, Rage 2, there's a lot here that can be translated over to different games, to different studios, to different publishers, wherever he might end up, even if it's not in the gaming industry. The amount of skills that he has been working with over the past years, 24 of them, is without a doubt going to transfer over very well to whatever venture comes next for Mr. Willits. But to Mr. Willits, thank you for the 24 years of incredible content from id Software. Some games have been hits, some games have been misses, but at the end of the day, it's all content, baby. It's all sweet, sweet gaming content. Can't get enough of it. But let's talk about Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. Of course, the big expansion coming out later on this year. The moon in D2 Shadowkeep will be twice the size of the original. Seems to be growing. The moon in Destiny 2 Shadowkeep will not only feature new changes and twists, but it is over twice the size it was in the original Destiny. Shadowkeep players will find a much larger space has been opened up on the moon. According to a new developer diary from Bungie, the available area on the moon is more than twice that of the original map, not to mention the fact that it's now haunted, and you can't just call a group of ghost hunters and expect them to deal with it. Upon returning to the moon, you'll find it has changed to a place full of cracks and new high fortresses, and the enemies there will have a physiological No, it is psychological. I'm sorry. There's a lot of Y's and S's there. Psychological horror element, as they are manifestations of the Guardian's past. And you can expect all sorts of Fallen to contend with as well. Basically, there is a hidden darkness under the moon, which has been discovered by Eros, and she has woken the beast. What is this beast? I guess we'll have to find out for ourselves when the expansion releases on September the 17th on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and coming to Google Stadia whenever that platform launches as well. But again, the moon, huge in D2 Shadowkeep. And this isn't shocking because, again, the main bulk of the content for Shadowkeep is going to take place on the moon. So it doesn't really warrant keeping it the same size. You might as well go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. You can play around with more stuff on the moon. And of course, it just kind of makes sense. It's a brand new map, people. It's not necessarily a real planet when you're talking about a video game. But very excited about Shadowkeep. Of course, Destiny 2 is a tale that is not told very often, where a game can launch in a very rough state and make a huge redemption, do a full 180, and just completely and totally win back an audience. And man, people are excited about Shadowkeep. Even those that are playing on Stadia, they still can't wait for Shadowkeep. It's just insane to see how excited people are, and I'm very, very glad because, again, Bungie very much so independent now, not under the control of Activision. They can do whatever they want, and they are doing whatever they want. There's a free version of Destiny 2 coming that has pretty much all of the Year 1 content. Forsaken was down to $10 on Prime Day, and it's going to be down very much so in a similar kind of price range whenever Shadowkeep launches. If you ever wanted to get into the world of Destiny, now is going to be the time to do it. Never an opportunity like this before to get into it. But again, if you were looking forward to Shadowkeep, the moon, twice the size of the OG big sphere in the sky, and you can jump around on it, jump around on September the 17th. But speaking of Google Stadia, of course, Destiny 2, a big game on Stadia at launch, is going to be $10 per month for the Pro plan. Of course, there are various tiered plans, but that includes one free game per month. And unfortunately, we also have a confirmation about some Bluetooth audio questions. During a Reddit Ask Me Anything session, Director of Product Andrei Duronichev, wow, that's a name. Duronichev. We're going to go with Duronichev. So, let's start over. During a Reddit Ask Me Anything session, Director of Product Andrei Duronichev dished some more details about Google's Stadia online gaming service coming in November. Questions covered a number of subjects, from social features to technical details to Google's commitment to the platform. Perhaps the most pertinent thing that Google revealed, however, is how the Stadia Pro subscription will work and what you will get. Duronichev emphasized that the Pro service won't be all you can eat, but that for $10 per month, subscribers will get some serious benefits. To be clear, Stadia Pro is not Netflix for games like some people have mentioned. He said a closer comparison would be like Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus. The Pro subscribers get 4K HDR streaming, 5.1 surround sound, exclusive discounts, and access to some free games. Roughly one free game per month, give or take, starting with Destiny 2. Users of the base plan won't get the discounts or games as expected, but hey, Stadia Base gives you free access to the state-of-the-art gaming hardware in our data center, said Duronichev. You spend your money to buy games you want. And so another key takeaway is that Stadia's controller will not support Bluetooth audio when the service launches in November. To start with, you'll be forced to use wired headphones via a 3.5mm audio jack on the controller if you are streaming on Chromecast Ultra. If you are playing on a Pixel phone or PC, however, you will get wireless Bluetooth audio via those devices, bypassing the controller altogether. On the Stadia controller product page, Google notes that while Bluetooth support will be switched off at launch, it may be enabled down the road. Google re-emphasized that you will be able to use any games you purchase, even if Stadia is discontinued down the road. At the same time, Duronichev said Google is super committed to the platform. We have hundreds of passionate people who have spent years building it. We've invested a ton in tech, infrastructure, and content. As for the social aspect, Google is going all in there as well. At launch, you will be able to manage your friends list, create parties, and use platform-level voice chat, he said. And that's just the beginning. We also have a healthy pipeline of social features going forward. It will also include achievements similar to what's available on other platforms, and Stadia will eventually support family sharing early starting next year as well. And so, that's pretty much where we are sitting as of right now. Destiny 2, of course, a big piece of content coming for the Pro subscribers at the beginning of Stadia's life cycle. But at the same time, it's weird to see the confirmation that Pro isn't going to be all that we thought it was going to be. And I really think it's going to harm Stadia in the long run. Of course, everybody was kind of assuming, or at least the general public was assuming, that you would be getting something of an all-you-can-eat, as the article does say, where it is like a Netflix or an Xbox Game Pass, where you have this giant catalog of ever-rotating games that are available on Google Stadia. However, instead you're going to be getting 1 to 2 free games per month, and then you are expected to buy everything else, which isn't necessarily a model that's foreign in 2019. That's what we have on PlayStation, that's what we have on Xbox without Game Pass included. But at the same time, if you are going to be pushing towards the future, subscription services are where it's at. And if I'm paying $10 a month and I'm getting 1 free game, come on, guys. Really? 1 free game? I mean, it is only $10, but still, I think we can do a bit better than that. If Google really wants to be a contender in this space, they've really got to incentivize getting on board early with Google Stadia, and there's no reason to right now. In July of 2019, there is no reason to get in on day one other than the fact that you are going to be getting in on a brand new form of content platform usage on day one. That's pretty much all you've got. But again, there's a lot of potential within Google Stadia, and the question is, how long are they going to support it? Of course, he does confirm that, hey, you are going to always be able to play your games even if we shut down, but at the same time, you're already talking about shutting down. You are acknowledging the fact that that is potentially going to be happening. I understand that's something that should be considered, but at the same time, it's not really that... Really? You're confirming that you could actually consider shutting this thing down this early on? Again, they won't. Google is very much so committed to this because there have been a lot of people talking about what's happening with Stadia, and I highly doubt they would ever bail on it any sooner than 5 years down the pipeline. But again, I'm just not sure about Stadia. It seems like the hype for this just is not there. It just doesn't feel like anybody is really, truly excited about getting their hands on Stadia. Now, make no mistake, people are excited about Stadia. People are excited about what it potentially presents going forward technologically. But when it comes to people actually counting down the days to get their hands on the controller and a Chromecast Ultra, I'm just not feeling any kind of pulse on the neck of the community. That's what I'm trying to get across. But I digress. We will have to wait and see what happens with Stadia when it launches later this November, and of course a full release coming later in 2020. But before we move on, I do want to say to Ton in the chat, thank you so much for those 4 bits. I appreciate you very much. But moving on to the final topic of the day, if you want a free game to play this weekend, I have some good news for you. The original Borderlands is free on Steam for the weekend. The Game of the Year Enhanced Edition includes visual improvements and a bunch of DLC. I have it, can confirm. It's a good product. With Borderlands 3 on the horizon, arriving in September, which is already closer than you think, it's not a bad time to get acquainted or reacquainted with the original. Well, a newer version of the original anyway. Borderlands Game of the Year Enhanced is free for the weekend on Steam, which should give you enough time to sample at least a quarter bazillion of the co-op shooter's bazillion guns. The enhanced part relates to the upgraded character models, environments, and textures, plus it somehow adds even more guns and loot than there were to begin with. The Game of the Year business means all the DLC is included as well. The Zombie Island of Dr. Ned, Mad Moxie's Underdome Riot, and the Secret Army of General Knox, as well as Claptrap's new Robot Revolution, are all included. If you try it and you like it, a 50% discount on the Game of the Year Enhanced package is in full effect until July the 22nd. That'll bring the price down to an even $15 on Steam. But of course, this game was given away for free, I believe, a couple of weeks back to those that already owned the official Borderlands original version on Steam. But a fantastic time to dive in and give it a look. Again, Borderlands 3 coming out in just a few weeks, so if you want to get the basic bare-bones story, if you want to go back to the beginning and give it a shot, there is no better way to do it than to try it for free on Steam this weekend if you have a couple of hours to kill and some interest in getting into the world of Borderlands 3. Very excited, very pumped about Borderlands. It's a really, really good time for the game to come out. Again, Borderlands 3 launching September the 20th, I believe. Let's scroll down and see. Let's Google and see. Borderlands 3. Let's see. Borderlands 3 release date. September 13th. So September 13th, you can get your hands on Borderlands 3 on PS4, Xbox One, and PC via the Epic Games Store. I was thinking about mentioning that or not because some people get riled up about that, but hey, it is what it is. Reality smacks you in the face sometimes. But that rounds out today's top gaming news. Of course, if you are brand new to the show, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me talk about video games, and you can take that opportunity today and the other 4 days of the week, Monday through Friday, and the morning hours, usually around 7, but hey, sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss, live on twitch.tv/SamuelAdams, and then the show is taken down and put up on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia, as well as podcast services via anchor.fm/SamuelAdams. But until Monday, you guys have a fantastic rest of the weekend. I will talk to you soon, and peace.